Jackson Radio Show.
All right, so we're coming up to another census, folks. It's 2018. The next one's going to be 2020, right? This was in the news this week as well. I'm Liz Matory. I am filling in for Kevin Jackson on The Kevin Jackson Show, KJRadio.com. You can follow me on Facebook at Liz Matory, which is LIZMATORY, and of course on Facebook. So, right, they want to rechange and recreate whatever they want on our census. I don't know about you, but I've always had issue with how they ask about what you are. And of course, this time around, they want to include a question whether you're a citizen or you're not. And you know who can't stand that is your folks over there in California, your cousins. Your cousins over there in California, they're really upset and they're actually suing because they believe that, it's a violation of whatever to ask somebody if they're citizenship or not. Okay, this is the U.S. Census, okay? The United States Census. I mean, we've got a lot of issues all around whether you should ask about people's race, and we'll talk about in a moment, but guess what? Y'all are the people who made it an issue for even us to actually ask that question by 2020. You know and I know that if they didn't allow all these illegal aliens to come up through and all the way up and all around and from here to tarnation, we wouldn't have to ask that question. Because we already have an immigration program. We know where people are coming. People are vetted. That's the other thing. Y'all don't understand how difficult it is to even come to this country legally. I had mentioned this before. It takes 24 years. 24 years now to come from the Philippines to here. People have to take tests, like blood tests. In some cases, you gotta report how much money you have, and if you have when you're only here for work visas, you have to say you're gonna return back to your country. Green cards, all of these different parts of our immigration system are placed there for a reason. And so this time around, because there's so many people who are here that don't have permission to be here, our government's maybe during the census we can figure this part out. Because don't forget, the people who usually, study immigration patterns and all of that jazz, most of them are hyper-leftist liberal organizations, and of course they don't want the number. They don't want us to really know the number of illegals because they don't want us to be right. So anyway, I'm going to talk about that, a whole nother story. But so another thing they want to do is break up the word, black, and to make the person like myself write down what type of black person you are. And we all know that this is happening not only for black people, but also for Asian people. That both black people and Asian people are going to be broken down into even more compartments. So even if you were born here, you have to figure out, okay, so what sort of black person are you? Or what certain Asian person are you? And then, of course, you can't just say that you're an American citizen, because I think for me, that should just be how many American citizens live here? How many American citizens live there? Some of the reasons why they break down your race and ethnicity is because they want to know health trends or what have you. I don't know enough about census taking, but I guess it's a part of it. But a major one is how, of course, money is being spent and allocated. Another reason why people, the numbers matter is how much representation you get in Congress. Do you add a certain person or do you lose a representative because the population has shifted so much? But particularly when it comes to that, breaking down people even farther, I know the Asian Americans in my community don't want that to happen, because if they say, oh, your grandparent is from Korea, or your mother is from Japan, or like me, my mother's from the Philippines, I literally would have to fill out whatever bubble they expect me to fill out. And the funny thing is, I had said this on another program. For me, if I were to, answer the race ethnicity question. I don't know, question number 3 or something on the thing. On 2 censuses, whatever you want to call it, I've actually answered that differently twice. First on the 2000 when I was in college, and then again in 2010. In 2000, I wrote down that I was either other or 2 races because I'm also black and, Asian, if you will, though I'm American. And then by 2010, I was like, all right, well, let's just, give like the black column more credit. So I just checked off black. But I'm the same person. So the funny thing that we need to watch on this whole like census thing is, what is the purpose? And are we at a point now where dividing ourselves even more, even further, might be actually worse? Well, it depends upon who you're asking. The people who want to control us and divide and conquer, they love the whole division. They love to see, okay, these data points are this and this data point is that. They don't really think of us as individual human beings anyway. They just think of us as like numbers on a like a statistic, if you will. But for the rest of us who actually care about our, ourselves and our lives and our principles and our values in our country, what do we need to do this for anymore? The other thing I thought was interesting about the census is that, have you ever seen the words non-Hispanic white? Non-Hispanic white. I would say most of the listeners on this program are considered non-Hispanic white. That's just like regular white people, like native-born white folks. And if you know anything about language, and I remember seeing it for the first time, that means that by default, Hispanic is the default. Because when you throw up non, that means that the non-Hispanic is the other. So they're already othering you in your own darn census. So why is Hispanic, why is even Latino such a big deal these days? I'm going to get a lot of pushback because I always ask these questions, especially because I grew up in a very hyper partisan and, racially mindful way. Now that I start thinking about it, there are dozens of countries that make up Latin America. And I technically could be considered Latino because my mom is from the Philippines and, she spoke Spanish as well because the Spanish conquistadores got over there and were there for 375 years. So aren't Filipinos Latino too? But we don't get to be counted as Latino. And for a while now, the Latino community benefits greatly by one reason. They have a common language. We as black folks here, our language is English. We also are native born. And so, of course there are Latinos who are native born too, and they're legal immigrants, and some of them are illegals, but because of, and again, I had talked to one of my friends about this, about doing this part, and he was really kind of concerned that I was just going to go too edgy, but if you think about it, it's cool to be Latino. People would rather be Latino than, nobody really likes to be black. I love to be black, but there's always this stigma attached to being a black person anywhere you go, sadly. But to be Latino, it's super cool these days, right? Nowadays, you get to keep the language as Spanish. You don't really need to learn English. You literally have whole communities. You have the means to create an income, unlike a lot of our native-born people. And you literally are creating your own separate society and culture within our culture. And oh, by the way, and this is the part that my friend didn't want me to talk about, is that I know and I've witnessed firsthand the Democrat Party wanting to pander to Latinos because they don't want to deal with the real issues that black people face. Because over the 50 years of failed Democrat parties, the black community has gotten way worse, and we have been stuck in that party for oh so long, and no amount of solutions that they offer have actually fixed our issues, quote unquote, because, oh, by the way, the issues that we have can absolutely positively be fixed, quote unquote, through conservatism. the original way that we used to live our lives before we got messed up by the Democrat Party. But because the Democrat Party doesn't have anything to offer black people, they get to play the race card and the people of color card and brown people. You remember, how to do the whole brown black thing? They're able to do that through Latinos. So they get to save themselves from the history, their own party's history of enslaving my ancestors and the issues that have come from that. And they were like, oh, well, just kidding, huh? Well, we're just talking about black and brown people, but mostly we're really focusing on brown people. And I know that most conservatives and most Republicans don't see race or don't consider race or, all of that. If you kind of take a step back and see, again, how the Democrat Party plays this and how the establishment plays color and race and ethnicity on each other, there's something there.
Kevin Jackson
on the Black Sphere Radio Network.
Do you owe back taxes to the IRS or state? The secret to avoiding the IRS nightmare is to seek professional representation. My friends at Security Tax Associates provide the most cost-effective and ethical representation in the industry while helping to avoid seizures, levies, and wage garnishments. Security Tax Associates is here to ensure that the appropriate steps are taken to permanently eliminate any possibility of future tax burdens once and for all. For a free, no-obligation consultation, contact Security Tax Associates, 844-779-4177. That's 844-779-4177. 844-779-4177. Or visit them at securitytaxassociates.com.